Don't step in the paint again. No! Hi everyone. Today I am working on a portrait of my kitty cat. She's like my little princess kitty. And so we'll be drawing her as a little fairy princess cat sitting on a branch. These are some of the tools that I use. I just took a picture of her, and sorry about the dirty floor in the picture, but she looks so cute there, and I'm transferring it over with carbon paper. And you just draw around it all the shapes that you can mark down until you feel confident enough that you can paint the kitty. And here I've got stencils. That wasn't totally worked out. Really, at the end of this video, you'll see the picture, and I should have put a lot more time into thinking about how I would do her fairy wings. And you'll see at the end, it looks a little bit out of place. And this painting was more experimental. It wasn't something that I had really thought too much about. I just wanted to go in with it, kind of keep the fairy details. There's my cat Cheeto, and she's trying to drink the paint water. Don't let your kitties drink the paint water. And she wouldn't really give it up, so I'm gonna do like a little bloopers reel for y'all. You guys can meet Cheeto. She's gonna be next one on the list. Oh yeah, she got a bunch of paint everywhere. I had to take a break and go wash her paws off, which she absolutely loved. So I actually had forgotten to turn the recording on again, and I missed a little bit of the first of the washes, and which is okay, but in the very early steps you just kind of want to get color down everywhere you can, pat it dry where you don't want as much color, and then just kind of play around with the background. You have so much freedom. Throw some paint splatters on, because this is watercolor. It is so much fun. You can do so many fun things with it and get messy and just let the watercolors be themselves. These little brushes that I'm using are they hold water in them. They're very good for traveling if you like to paint plein air as well. You go out, you go do urban sketching, they're the greatest. They're so easy to use. You got them full of water, and you don't really have to worry too much about having your water container with you, especially for those quick sketches. And always use your spray bottle for your waters, or your paints, sorry. I find it helps. The watercolors do dry out over time while they're exposed, but you can reactivate them by wetting them, and this spray bottle just really helps with that. So I'm working on the branches. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love painting trees and branches. I don't know why. They're so easy. You can do just about anything and get the whole idea across that is a branch or a tree or a log, you know. And any kind of botanical kind of drawing, nature drawing, garden drawing, that's always fun. You can pretty much do whatever. So here I'm just laying down kind of a gray tone. She is gray, but I still wanted to add like tons of color to make her pretty and more ethereal looking. And I think here we had to get another kitty break. She just wants to play. Yeah. I don't know if you got pets, but they make excellent little helpers when painting, drawing, any of that. They're just our little helpers. So, having my little helper, she reminds me too that I need to take breaks, and between layers with watercolor especially, you really want to let them dry completely. And that is the role of my little Cheeto cat. She helps me take those breaks and demands its playtime. And the most important thing I think when it comes to watercolor, any art really, is to make sure you let those layers dry completely in between. And it gives you time to think about maybe what your next move for the painting is, where you want to take it. So here I was trying to show you guys Cheeto, but she wasn't really cooperating. I told her she's gonna be a big star. She will have her moment. I will paint her next. And I'll let her be involved with the whole process of painting. So here I'm just adding more layers. You really want to start light with watercolor painting. Build up to darker areas. Try to keep your lights light where the light is hitting, or whatever needs to be light, like the fur pattern. There's a bit of white, and then she's got some dark gray, she's got some mid-tone grays. And I'm loosely following the picture to kind of keep the colors mostly right. Like, they don't have to match the painting. I really didn't want this to be a realistic portrait. And then you can see where I added dark, I blend it out, I added dark again, blend it out a bit, and just keep with that push and pull of adding dark and fading it out. Depends on how realistic you want to go. I mean, you can get some pretty wild colors that yet they still look kind of realistic. So one of my favorite things to do with watercolors, and yes, the cat would not leave me alone. My favorite thing with watercolors is doing the paint splatters. It just adds a little bit. I mean, it's not right for every painting, but it definitely has its perks. So I'm using the blow dryer to kind of help dry in between the layers. You don't want to get too close to your paper with that, especially if you have kind of more pooling with the water. It'll kind of like spread it out. I don't know if you guys remember when you used to do art classes when we were little, you would take a puddle of paint and use a straw to blow on the paint, and it would kind of come out spindly. The blow dryer is going to do the same thing, which, if that's what you want, it definitely works, but it might not be what you want. I just have no patience, so I use the blow dryer. So now it's time to start adding some darker elements and start to pull out some details in the wood. And this would be your value in shapes and colors. The value in contrast is what's really going to make your painting pop. And it's also a lot of fun to play with that. You can go from, yeah, that's a nice painting, to, wow, that is really nice, just by getting those darker values. Not that really light paintings or darker ones aren't pretty. It's all to your taste, and whatever you decide to make it, whatever the vibe of the painting is that you want. And you can see I'm mostly using blue here to start darkening things up. It just makes it easier in case things, this way things don't get too dark before they're supposed to. Those blues and purples really help kind of push back and get darker before you go into using black. And they say with black, you're not supposed to use it, you're supposed to mix your own. That's just more preference, I think. I think it's fine to use the black. You can even tone regular black paint with other colors and make the value of, or the tone of the paint to whatever is going to be complementary for the painting itself. So as you can see, there is a big layering process. This painting, I think, took me about 2 hours. I had anticipated maybe an hour. I didn't want to take so much time with the layering, but I did, and it was worth it in the end. Like, I love how this came out. I can't wait to frame it, but it took me some time, and I'd have like about 2 hours of recording, even with the little interruptions by the kitty. All right, now it is time to get more of those paint splatters going. And pick whatever colors you want. It'll just look good. I promise that. It really adds kind of a dynamic, more whimsy kind of aspect to the painting. It is a fairy, after all. Fairy kitty. So I did the paint splatters to kind of give it a magical feel. So one thing about painting, it's like everybody has this issue in their artwork. There is always an ugly stage. We will, at some point, hit an ugly stage. I always felt for myself that ugly stage was kind of a longer process. So it seems to sit there for a while as I keep building up color. And it's something that I've just had to learn to work with, because I usually am happy with the results, but in a lot of my artworks, I feel like I can't get past it sometimes, which that's the point when you really need to just be motivated, trust the process, it'll come out nice. It just doesn't feel like it's going to. The ugly stage is really rough, and see, now it's starting to take more form, and I was starting to feel happier with it again. So just keep adding those layers, keep adding those colors. It will happen eventually. You'll get through the ugly stage. Have your friends, anybody, somebody to help motivate you, and keep pushing through, because that finished piece more or less is going to look good. It might not look the way you wanted it to, but I can guarantee it'll still churn out really nice. One thing that's really fun with art too is, like, fun in a not so fun way, is we can spend so much time fighting with the details and adding or taking away. That's what I like about watercolors, you can still take some away. And it was still really looking weird for me at this point, and it took me a bit to really figure it out. So I started adding darker paint. Now I'm using black, trying to figure out what the problem was, when it turns out the problem I was having is that her forehead still looks off, but there's like a gem piece that's going there as like a little fairy crown, and that it was starting to throw me off. So I kept on fussing with it, and I spent way too much time fussing when I should have started to work on the other details. So that's why I started with the eyes here. And I had no idea what I was going to do with them. And I looked at that pink, the magenta, and thought, yeah, we're going to go real bright here. Something's going to really pop, and it's going to be your eyes. And it really was starting to look weird to me, and I wasn't sure if I should keep it. So as the painting kind of continued, you see I've fussed with the eyes for a little bit too long as well. And I wouldn't say I was getting frustrated yet, but it was starting to get a little bit of a grind feeling. Like, when is this gonna really start looking nice? There's my blow dryer again, so a little bit impatient again. And as things dry, you kind of also get a clearer image of what's going on. And decided to do the wings. I really struggled with using the stencils and the watercolor. I normally use the airbrush, and I don't know why I decided against that. I was liking the wings, and then I started to not like them, and the wings really took a ugly stage hit. So I'm using my big brush. I'm not taking my time anymore. So that's where the frustration's at. Even that actually looks better than what I ended up with in the end. I don't regret the decisions I made for the wings, but they were tough. I should have spent more time planning them out. So doing these wings, it was kind of frustrating. There was a lot of problem solving. And really it all just comes from lack of planning and how I really wanted to go about the wings. I should have gotten myself a reference photo. It definitely would have helped. Overall, I'm not mad about it, but I normally use an airbrush, and that would have even helped it to look better and less harsh. I think the lines were too much. But this also came to be a very kind of graphic, like stylized painting in the end, so it still works. It just wasn't my favorite way. So even after hitting the ugly stage while painting the kitty, the wings kind of hit their own ugly stage, and it was tough to push through, but we got there. So at this point, I cut out a fair bit of me fighting with the wings. And at this point, I just had to move on. And sometimes the paint splatters come up again, helps you think a little bit. Gives you time to reassess the situation. It did kind of drive me nuts. So now I was feeling comfortable enough to start with the finer details. So I'm using a white pencil crayon to kind of lighten certain areas without being too light. This will help shape the kitty's face a bit. There's lots of light areas that had a few washes over them from the watercolor. And so I'm just kind of getting more of the fur texture instead of just the paint. It's already fairly textured, but this just fine tunes those little textures. Like when you're painting fur, it's really easy to make it look like you got zombie fur. So you don't want to paint or draw even each line separately. You kind of want to clump it. So it's mostly scribbling, like little jagged scribbles. And it seemed to work fairly well. I was impressed. I do have Poscas that I use, and I've got those acrylic paint pens, which those are a lot of fun. These were my first time using those pens, and it really was enjoyable. I was excited for those. So there they are. Those are my acrylic paint pens, and that really, for the finishing touches on this painting, that's what really made it for me. And these final details towards the end of the painting is the absolute best. The finishing line can be seen. It's all starting to really come together, and this is truly the best part. And this is what motivates me through the ugly stage. That final bit where you can see all of that work you just put into your painting is starting to really tie together, and it was worth it. All the mistakes were worth it, and the happy accidents. Like even her little tiara thing here, it turned out wonky. I wasn't happy about that. I had lost a good portion of my line art underneath at this point, but I did have a reference photo that I could follow along with for this, so that did help. Towards the end here, things started to get pretty wild. That was the point I realized it was just time to have fun with the painting now. And it really got fun. I went a little heavy with the white, I think, but ultimately, in the end, I really enjoyed this painting. It was fun. I absolutely adore this little cat, and I feel like this portrait really captured her personality. I hope you liked my video, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Any suggestions? I love suggestions. And if you want to see something specifically drawn, I would absolutely take that in consideration too, so feel free to comment. Don't forget to like and share, subscribe. If you liked my stuff, that is wonderful. And enjoy the rest of this video. Thank you. Used when okay, and you want my water. Don't let your kitties drink the paint water. I know, sweetie, but this isn't your portrait either. So give that a second. No, honey, you can't have that. Water down, sweetie. Okay, no colors. So I think we're gonna get some blue in here to start. Oh. No, she got paint on her. This is my Cheeto cat. And you're back in the water. Don't step in the paint again. No! Oh, no, 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 no. Yeah, you're allowed to lay down as long as you're being nice. Yeah, we're not going to attack all my stuff, though. Just got my clicker. Back for the water. Okay. No, sweetheart. No. This is Cheeto, everybody. Cheeto. Oh.